Welcome to This Is How We Create, a show that digs deeper into the creative life of contemporary artists of color. Discover what feeds their creativity and how they found or are finding their artistic voice. Through these intimate and candid conversations, you'll gain insights into the lives of creative professionals of color that are hard to find anywhere else. Hey friend, welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. This episode of This Is How We Create is coming to you from my bedroom because this is the last bastion of space that's not very loud in the house. So here we go. So today I am sharing an article that I wrote for Creative Matters, our newsletter. So this article is all about setting ourselves up for failure, or at least sabotaging ourselves. So, how did this come about? Well, there I was on FaceTime one Tuesday afternoon with a friend, and this friend was absolutely crushing her work. So we're talking, and then she casually mentioned how she wasn't going to apply for a grant. Now, I was surprised because this was a grant that she needed, a grant that she had been talking about for ages, and a grant that would absolutely rocket her career forward. Now, I couldn't believe what she said. She goes on to say, I just don't think I'm ready for something like that. And I was like, girl, what? I just wanted to leap through the screen to grab her shoulders and say, you were born ready. You were born for this. But instead, I minded my business. I just sat there and I recognized a pattern that I've seen in myself and every created person. The thing is that we hustle and we search for opportunities. And when the big moment happens and the door opens, we self destruct. Now, you know that there's a name for this pattern. Psychologist Gary Hendricks called it the upper limit problem, which sounds like a big old math equation, but it's just actually about how each of us have a thermostat of how much success, love, and happiness we allow ourselves. Your brain has a set capacity for good things. And when you exceed those good things, an internal alarm starts blazing. Red alert, initiate self sabotage sequence. Does this sound familiar? Now raise your hand if you've experienced any of these following upper limit problems. One, you picked a fight with your partner, your friend, a family member right before something amazing happened in your career, or right after something amazing happened in your career. Two, you suddenly forgotten a major deadline when a project was going unusually well. Three, you developed a mysterious illness right before a big project. Or four, you find yourself doom scrolling for hours instead of working on a project that is exciting and new. Now, I often think about the upper limit problem like your brain's bouncer, which is checking ideas at the door saying, sorry, man, your success isn't on this list. But you know what? Don't worry. This isn't just a you problem. We're all swimming in a culture of achievement myths, from rags to riches stories to fairy tales to tech bros who suddenly built empires from, you guessed it, their garage. Now, these myths ignore the identity crisis that comes with crossing invisible boundaries. Success can mean leaving behind not only who you were, but also the people and the places that helped shape you. And then there are some of us who identify as female or who are from working class backgrounds, who are from marginalized communities, or from first generation professionals. Achievement looks really different for us. Achievement can feel like a betrayal of your roots, of your culture. It can feel like you are suddenly exposed to new scrutiny and expectations. Whew. And then you can add in the fact that different groups face wildly different consequences for the same accomplishments. Now, it's not a wonder that sometimes we pump the brakes on our own success, right? It makes complete sense. We're going to talk about grief because this is the part that
people don't really talk about, which is letting go of your upper limit often means mourning the person you thought you were supposed to be. Maybe you built your whole identity around the romantic idea of the struggling artist. Then, when you're making money from your art, and now you're thinking, wait, who am I if I'm not struggling? Or maybe your parents only praised you when you were perfect. So, imperfection becomes your safety mechanism. So, you might even get into the spiral of, well, of not finishing projects because you think if I've never finished this project, no one can tell me it's not good enough. Yo, this stuff goes deep, my friend. Not only is it deep, but transformation takes time as well. But before transformation, you also have to acknowledge what you're leaving behind because you might just have to make room to grieve that past version of yourself that you left behind. Here's the thing, like you're listening to this either on podcasts or on Instagram as a reel. Social media has made our struggle with the upper limit problem worse. You've probably noticed that success isn't just something we experience anymore. It's like a performance. Creatives who handled rejection like champs for years are suddenly freezing after their first viral post. The spotlight that seems so desirable when it comes on you, it can sometimes feel threatening. The dopamine hits we get from social media make it easy to confuse external validation with actual achievement. We see everyone's highlight reel, but we don't see their years of work, years of failure, and years of doubt. We have no idea what's real or fake anymore. And it's no wonder that we get the urge to self sabotage right when things are going really well. Which lead us to, how do you break through your upper limit problem without having a complete meltdown? So, here's what we're going to do. In order to move past these self imposed limitations, here are some things I've figured out. Number one, find your and. You can be terrified and you can take action. You can feel unworthy and you can create something wonderful. The fear doesn't have to disappear for you to actually move forward. Next, you want to create before you're ready. Nothing defeats perfectionism faster than releasing your work into the world and discovering that one, the world will not end, and two, you get to make more tomorrow. Three, practice being uncomfortable. The creative life isn't about eliminating discomfort. It's actually all about expanding your capacity to function effectively while being uncomfortable. Mind blowing, right? It's like hot yoga, except instead of stretching your hamstrings, you're stretching your tolerance for uncertainty. Now, number four, you have to name your upper limit behaviors. Self awareness is your greatest ally. What specifically do you do when you're approaching your upper limit? Only you know. So at this point, it's your turn. Let's get uncomfortably honest. As you move through your day tomorrow, through this week, I really invite you to consider your brain's bouncer. I want you to name your brain's bouncer who just won't let you in the door. I like to think of my bouncer as Felicia, just so you know, I could say mentally, bye, Felicia. Next, what would you do if you weren't afraid of your own potential? Whew, this question keeps me up at night. I'm not gonna lie. What part of your identity feels threatened by the success you say you want? It's not a great one to answer, but it's a good one to contemplate. Whose permission are you still waiting for? And spoiler alert, they're probably not going to give you the permission anyway. You'll need to give it to yourself. So that's it. I'm so glad I finished this essay because I have to say, when I was writing this essay, I was getting a stomach ache. And each time I write these essays for Creative Matters and we publish on Sundays, I have like, it's never good because I always feel so much resistance about forcing myself to actually write these essays, and I want them to be perfect. But it's not about perfectionism. Thinking about our upper limits is about recognizing what holds us back and to know that we can expand past these hurdles. As you do these exercises, I'd love to hear about what surface is for you. What happens to you when you are going through your upper limit problem? What upper limit behaviors do you recognize in yourself? Leave us a note or send me an email at martine@martineseverin.com, or visit us on This Is How We Create on our Instagram page. I'd love to encourage you to go to our newsletter on Creative Matters. I have some really great exercises in this particular newsletter around fear and around self sabotage that will really help you in terms of figuring out how to workshop, how to manage your self sabotaging behavior. That's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, or this mini episode of This Is How We Create. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, where we talk with another really wonderful artist of color who will talk about their creative process. Bye.
Hi there. I have a quick favor to ask you before you go. If you're loving the show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go to podcast app? Here's the thing, those reviews are like magic fairy dust. They help other creatives of color discover our show and tap into their own artistic superpowers. While you're at it, why not subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters? Creative Matters is like a weekly dose of inspiration delivered straight to your inbox. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.